The hallway mirror showed me in fragments. A face still learning to trust its own light, the red lipstick my mother hates, the silk dress slipping off one shoulder like it remembers who paid for it. The penthouse breathed orange blossom and hairspray. Hairdressers came and went with bobby pins between their teeth. The bouquet rested in a crystal vase, and the planners checked spreadsheets whispering timing like a prayer. My mother walked in without knocking, one hand on her pearl necklace, her eyes sweeping the room like an appraiser. Floor, curtains, view, me. I thought about it all night, she began, voice like cold butter. The penthouse would be a perfect wedding gift. It suits your sister's life more than your independence. The word independence came dipped in bile. I breathed, fastened my bracelet, counted to 5. No, that was it. I didn't explain, negotiate, or offer half. The no landed between us like a glass that doesn't shatter but shakes the table. My mother smiled without teeth, that thin laugh that begs for an audience. She moved closer, jasmine and talcum perfume louder than anything she felt for me, and lowered her voice. Don't make me ask twice. The family has an image. The apartment was excessive, you know. The window returned the outline of my lifted chin. I thought of the deed tucked away, invoices paid. The first night I heard the city from above and decided no one would take that view from me. No, I repeated softer. The penthouse has an owner. That's when her hand cut the air. A lacquered nails crack against my cheek. Not hard enough to knock me down, precise enough to cut me inside. I heard a few swallowed H's. The makeup artist fished invisible brushes from her own kit. The photographer focused his lens on a plant. Someone laughed nervously in the hall, and the laugh died like a bird on the glass. Heat climbed to my ear. The pain didn't arrive whole, it arrived with memory. All the times I was told to lower my voice, tame my hair, choose nude over red because it shows less. My mother took a step back, restored her decorum with 2 pats to her bun, and hissed, "Ungrateful. This family taught you how to have everything." I looked at her like you look at an old portrait. Beautiful but warped. Work taught me how to have everything. Family taught me how to shrink. In the ceiling corner, the red light of the security camera blinked to life, discreet as an eye winking. Cold marble pressed my back, and I set a hand on the counter so I wouldn't fly out of rage. The elevator dinged, groomsmen arrived with boxes of favors, and in the mirror my mother returned to her hostess smile. "Come, sweetheart, the bride needs peace." The word peace fell like a towel over blood. My sister appeared in the doorway, ivory lace, eyes glittering with nerves. "Everything okay?" she asked the room. My mother nodded, and the room pretended to believe it. I stayed alone a moment, listening to running water somewhere, a zipper, the breath of people who prefer theater to truth. I pressed champagne ice to my cheek, counted to 5 again, then to 10. When my breath returned, I noticed the security guard with a badge in the doorway, discreet like only those who learn to see what everyone ignores. "Ma'am," she whispered, "the hallway cameras have audio. Do you want me to back it up?" The ice melted in my hand, a thin line running down my wrist like an underline. I lifted my chin and saw, reflected in the metal of the doorknob, the woman my mother has tried to edit for years. "Yes," I said. "I want everything." The guard tipped her chin, understood, and vanished into the flow of bridesmaids. My cheek burned less. My decision burned more. I opened the drawer where I keep pens and contracts and skimmed the papers just to remember the weight of my name. Outside, the city seemed to clap softly against the glass. My sister laughed somewhere down the hall. I heard the groom's name, heard modern dowry, in a tone that cut the inside of my mouth. I closed my eyes for a beat, and when I opened them the red camera light was still watching. I stared back steady. One last thing before I left the room. I touched my lipstick, sharpened the edge, let the red say what my mouth would still choose to hold. I walked the hallway with a flawless face and skin on fire, and each measured step felt like a rung on a fire escape, the kind you only use when you decide to exit on your own terms. In the lobby, my mother was already handing out hugs like invitations. The photographer called "Women of the Family," and someone pointed me to a corner with good light. I stopped center frame for a second, just long enough to meet the lens. The shutter clicked, and behind it the ping on my phone. Backup complete. File ready to send. I stood at the window for long minutes, watching traffic below, lights moving like thoughts that won't stop. My mother was likely in the hotel ballroom, supervising the last details. Her slap still burned somewhere deeper than skin, a kind of pain that leaves no visible mark but rewires everything. I opened my laptop. The screen reflected a face split between cold light and the gray day. I drew a breath and dug through folders, contracts, messages. I knew she'd try to justify it, turn the slap into a family misunderstanding. It's what she did best, edit the truth. Not this time. In a folder marked Documents under 2023, I found the scanned deed, registry stamp, shaky signature, the date whose ink I can still smell. I bought every square meter. No favors, no loans. Notifications lit up from a group called Family and Ethics. The name always rang ironic. Messages swarmed like ants. She needs to look elegant and cooperative today. The penthouse would be a beautiful symbol. Her sister deserves it. The she was me. The deserves never was. Screenshot. Backup. Almost muscle memory. I opened the image committee chat too. Aunt Rosanna, the planner, and my sister's in-laws PR. The elder sister's dress color needs to be neutral, mustn't compete in photos. And if she gives a speech, might be best to cut the mic after the toast. My stomach clenched. Everything was meticulously calculated. Even my invisibility. I was meant to fill space, not be seen. And for years I accepted the part. As I read, a thought split through me. How can they still convince me I owe gratitude to those who've always made me smaller? That obedience is a virtue when it only exists to silence you. I pulled old voice notes from my mother, saved for no clear reason. Her voice carried trained sweetness, honey masking iron. Don't forget your color already draws attention, darling. Balance it with humility. Another more recent. The penthouse was an exaggeration, love. You alone in all that space. It reads as arrogance. And think of the family's good. Your sister is starting out, she needs a roof. The same script dressed as love. The same poison served in crystal. I looked around. The apartment seemed to be looking back. The plant on the balcony moved. Sun glanced off the glass and cast gold patches on the floor. The view was gorgeous, but there was a bitter note in every corner. The price of having something others can't stand to see you own. I recorded my own voice. This is the sound of what is mine. I said it slowly, letting each word carry weight. A new notification. Building security. Hallway video available. Send copy by email. Tapped yes. Seconds later the file arrived. Clear audio, clean image. The exact moment her hand rises, the crack, the words. The penthouse goes to your sister. I hit play 3 times, listening to the dry echo of injustice, then stopped. It was more than record. It was a mirror. I shut the laptop and faced the real mirror. My face hurt less. The past hurt more. Times she made me hide my hair because it drew the wrong kind of attention. The muffled laughs at Sunday lunches when I said I would be a director. My sister's eyes always split between guilt and privilege. All those tiny violences came wrapped in affection. I always unwrapped them smiling, wanting to believe it was love. I sat on the bed, body light and tense at once. Deep down I knew. What irritated my mother most wasn't the apartment. It was that I didn't need her. I had learned to build a home without permission. Now, seeing she couldn't mold me anymore, she wanted the symbol. The roof, the key, proof that I still fit inside her family. Checked the clock. 2 hours to the wedding. Outside, horns and street chatter. Inside, the hush before a storm. I pulled a flash drive from the drawer, the one I always carry. Plugged in, dragged the hallway video, the screenshots, the deed. Named the folder Truth under one. Synced it to the cloud. The blue progress bar pulsed like a heart. That's when I decided. I wouldn't be victim or martyr. I would be fact. Before closing the laptop, a sentence escaped aloud. They want my penthouse? They'll have to face the ceiling the mirrors throw back. For the first time in a long time, my voice didn't shake. If you've ever had to hide your wins to fit your family portrait, subscribe. There are stories that only find echo when someone decides not to stay quiet. I closed the laptop, refreshed my lipstick, and looked in the mirror. The reflection smiled back, not asking approval, but recognizing itself whole. The car moved slowly down flowered avenues to the hotel. Buildings slid by in the glass, each reflecting the gray sky and the memory of my mother's slap hours earlier. Traffic hummed like a background clock, counting down to the moment everything would collapse, or change for good. On the passenger seat, the invitation lay open, gold letters still shining. Union of an exemplary family. I smiled at the irony. My mother's PR never misses. At the hotel, a black-clad crew rushed by with flowers and candy boxes. In the main hall, giant frames showed the bride, my sister, in staged photos, smiling in a white garden. I, as always, wasn't in any. At the counter, the planner handed me a cream folder and said, "You have a minute to review your toast." I took the paper. The first line read, "Today we celebrate not only the bride's love, but the generosity of a family uniting in one home." I read it again. The home was mine. "I didn't write this," I said quietly. She looked away. "Your mother asked to adjust. Just a tone thing." Tone thing. She had no idea how heavy that is. I closed the page calmly and slid it back into the folder. Walking backstage, I took in the decor. The main hall looked like a gilded chapel. Massive chandeliers, velvet carpet, white lily arrangements. Every detail screamed purity, like color itself was a plot to protect. White waiters, matching bridesmaids. Guests smiling inside a bubble of manufactured harmony. And me in wine red, the blot the painting didn't plan for. A middle-aged woman approached with a bouquet. "Aunt Rosanna. Honey, try not to stand center in the photos, okay? The light here really pops." "You know how it is," that I smiled without teeth. "I know," she winked, satisfied, believing we had a pact. I sat on a sofa away from the buzz and opened my phone. The image committee chat blinked. New messages. 1, 10 minutes earlier. "Remember, the apartment donation moment will be the peak of the ceremony. The bride cries, the crowd roars." Another from my mother. "Trust me. She'll agree on stage. She'd never cause a scene." My fingers froze. My heart hit hard, not from fear but recognition. I saw the role they wrote for me. The domesticated black woman, polished enough to swallow abuse in silence, to smile and confirm what's already been decided in my name. The elegant sister, the grateful daughter, the prestige accessory. I shot the messages, timestamps, names. The chandelier's reflection trembled on my screen, like the room itself was trying to hide the truth. A new notification buzzed. Unknown number. Sender. Anonymous message. Check the backup image committee group. She's saying you'll donate live. Screens attached. Opened it. There it was. My mother sending a photo of my penthouse, captioned, "Modern dowry." It's the least she can do after all we invested in her. Blood rose. Not for the betrayal itself, but for how she framed my achievement. An investment, a bill I should pay with a roof I built alone. I stood and went to the restroom. Locked the door and faced the mirror. The giant one that always reflects the woman they try to erase. I touched my face and noticed the red lipstick had worn. I smiled a little. The reflection returned something new. Dangerous calm, the kind that comes before strategy. I opened my voice recorder. My voice came out firm without a hitch. Log 3, 2:52 p.m. The grab will be public. I won't interrupt. I'll let the play begin. And when the lights come up, the script changes. I sent it to myself and saved it to the cloud, alongside the screenshots and hallway video. Upload complete flashed. Knock. The planner uneasy. "Are you okay, ma'am?" "I am," I said, just adjusting the tone. The rehearsal track started as I stepped out. Voices blended, people laughed, and the farce breathed. Down the hall to the main entry. I passed a side mirror and fluffed my natural hair. High, alive, impossible to ignore. Let the light pop then, I thought. Today it'll show more than they expect. At the door, I saw my mother with the in-laws. All of them laughing, glasses raised. She turned and saw me coming. Her smile stuttered for a half-second, enough to tell me she knew, deep down, something had slipped out of her control. My phone buzzed again. The anonymous sender one last time. The hallway video has perfect audio. If you need help playing it on the big screen, I can show you. I recognized the initial security. I locked myself again in a hotel restroom, closing the world inside. The muffled ceremony music and AC hum made an artificial hush, the kind you only hear before doing the irreversible. I leaned against the door, breathed, opened my phone. Was online. I typed, "Can you send the full hallway file?" 2 minutes later it arrived. Proof with a chill. Her hand rising, the slap's clean crack. Her face, warped in the mirror like a statue breaking. Crystal audio. "The penthouse goes to your sister." I watched once more, feeling anger congeal into something else. Focus. I set my phone on the sink, opened my laptop, and plugged in the flash drive I carry everywhere. New folder. Final oath. I dragged in the hallway video, the group screenshots, my voice note, and the deed. I arranged them for impact like a cut. First the slap, then the donation texts, finally the registry stamp with my name. I'm a marketer. I know narrative power. And that day, the exemplary family story would end in public, with its author swapped. I pulled the toast script the planner had given me and read it with clinical care. The language was classic brand speak. Generosity, union, example, legacy. Everything crafted to glorify my mother. The elegant matriarch. Applause ready. The closing line read, "Today we honor the greatest gesture of love from one daughter to another." The gesture was my estate. The mirror cut me into three. The wounded woman, the exacting executive, the daughter tired of apologizing for existing. I pictured a full hall, gleam of silver, clinking glasses, phones up, harmony suspended. And at the center, my mother velvet-voiced announcing a donation that never was perfect. Too perfect to waste on silence. I opened a video editor on my phone. I cut 2 versions. Version A, the one they expected. Childhood photos, captions about love and union. A light score. Version B, the one I would run. Same beginning, but at the peak applause, a hard cut to the hallway slap, followed by the screenshots, the deed, and a final title card. Assets are not proof of love. Every second trimmed with surgical precision. I saved it as tribute and buried it in the hotel's videos folder as official version 2. While it exported, a memory surfaced. I was 12. At my younger sister's school ceremony, my mother made me step out of the official photo because the light wasn't flattering. I remember swallowing my smile so I wouldn't ruin the shot. I remember her fixing my sister's hair and whispering, "She's our calling card." That day I learned to be background. Today I'd be the spotlight. Export done. I dried my hands and checked the mirror one last time. I couldn't see the slap mark anymore, but I still felt the shame she wanted me to carry. Now that shame had a purpose. I freshened my red, the color she hates, and wrote with my finger in the fogged glass. Proof isn't revenge. It's release. I slipped the drive into my bag with my phone and lipstick. When I opened the door, the planner was in the hall, flustered. "Is everything okay? You disappeared for a while, all good." I made a few edits to the tribute, I said. With a smile she couldn't read, she nodded, relieved, and handed me the big screen remote, not realizing she'd placed the fuse in my hands. I rode the elevator up, the orchestra warming in the distance. The doors closed slow, fracturing my face in the mirrors. The flash drive pulsed in my bag like it had a heartbeat. I pressed 3, the hall waiting, and with it, the end of silence. As the elevator rose, a buzz cut the metal hum. Again. Keep a copy in the cloud. If they try to shut you down, the file reappears. I looked up and half smiled. He had no idea the cloud was ready. What came next wasn't improv, it was script. The doors opened with a hush. The lit hallway led straight to the ballroom. In the distance, I heard my mother's practiced, sugared voice telling the crew, Ready the screen. Tribute rolls right after the toast. The main hall looked like a painting. Too gold, too floral, too perfect. People murmured low. Waiters moved in precise choreography. The piano tried to lacquer an old lie. I sat at a side table, alone, scanning every detail like someone about to turn the game. My mother stood at the center, ringed by guests, radiating control. Microphone in hand, silk dress on her back reflecting her ego. Toast in minutes. My sister, the bride, trembled a little. Her beauty was undeniable, a reflection my mother long curated as a trophy. I remember the times she'd say, "You're the smart one, your sister's the pretty one. Each has her place." My problem is I learned to step out of place. I looked at the screen behind the stage. The tribute was cued. My version be swapped in quietly. All it needed was a click on the remote in my bag. I touched the metal with my fingertips and felt the choice's weight. Moral revenge rarely comes from pure rage. It comes from soul weariness. And mine was spent. Across the room, I caught Aunt Rosanna whispering to the planner. She glanced my way and laughed. The same laugh from when I was a teen and they offered light beige as my foundation tone at a quinceanera. The same laugh that said, "You try, but you'll never be enough." The lights dimmed. The MC called for silence. Silverware stopped. My mother, voice sweet and calculated, began. "Today is a day of union, of love, family." The words floated like expensive perfume, hiding something rotten. I watched and saw the whole plan. Faux generosity, rehearsed announcement, an audience poised to praise a theft dressed up as noble gesture. My phone buzzed in my lap. Family and ethics again. After the toast, she announces the donation. Cameras ready to capture the moment. I drew a full breath. The same air that once failed me when I heard my mother say before relatives, "That girl needs to act like she belongs to this family." To the family. As if I were a borrowed body. I looked at my sister. She seemed restless, trying to bury the guilt in her eyes. I knew she didn't want this, not really. But I also knew the fear of disappointing our mother outran the courage to defend me. Understood. I've lived there. The MC signaled, and my mother extended an arm. The mic gleamed under gold light, and as a symbol of this union, a special gift will be announced now. Cameras swung to me. Guests smiled eager. Some whispered, "It's the apartment." I stood slowly. Each step toward the center felt heavy and light at once. Heavy with what I carried, light because I knew what was coming. My mother looked at me with that sheen that believes it has everything under control. She touched her glass to her lips, waiting for the perfect beat to say the lie. "My eldest daughter has decided to give a gift that represents love and gratitude." The video sound cut her off. The first image on screen was harmless. My sister and me as kids, laughing, running in the yard. Soft music. Applause. Then the sound changed. A metallic room tone, a real voice's echo. "The penthouse goes to your sister." The room froze. My mother's voice boomed from the speakers, followed by the slaps crack on my skin. The dry sound split the air. Then came the chat screenshots, the threads, the modern dowry. The deed, my name in black, date, signature, seal. People looked at each other. The bride dropped her bouquet, pale. My father lowered his eyes. Aunt Rosanna stumbled back, nowhere to go. I stood in the center and watched an empire of appearances collapse. My mother ran at the sound tech, shouting, "It's fake. It's a lie." But the video kept rolling. My voice closed it. Property isn't proof of love. It's the result of work. And respect isn't a gift. It's earned. The lights came up. Silence turned almost holy. If you've ever had to choose between pleasing and existing, between shutting up and staying whole, and if anyone ever told you your win was too much, comment, "We need to name what they call love when it's control." The music stopped. The truth didn't. My mother kept trying to kill the screen. The audience didn't blink. The room's gold started to look like rust. The hotel manager slipped on stage and whispered in her ear. She went white. The video, he said, was live streaming, on the event's social channel, watched by over 1,000 people. Her breathing turned audible, ragged, shame and fury on her face. Guests didn't know whether to look at her or me. The silence moved like a big animal through the hall. I saw my sister's embarrassment, the in-laws' elegant discomfort, a tremor in someone's hand. The band stopped. The AC sounded like a muffled siren. My mother tried to recover, plastering her stage smile back on like a cracked mask. "Sorry for the misunderstanding," she raised her voice. "It seems there was a technical error, some kind of sabotage. This recording is old, edited. People didn't buy it. Control time had ended." Her image, once prestige, now shook on the screen, frozen on the slap. The rewind of the gesture she'd always sworn never happened. A local videographer lifted his camera. "Can we use this?" he asked under his breath. The planner tried to block him, but too late. The clip was online, saved, downloaded. The truth had legs. I stayed still and felt a terrifying serenity. Not triumph. Justice breathing through thin seams. Pain I'd swallowed for a lifetime now moved in slow motion in front of everyone. I looked at my mother and saw fear. Not of the crowd or her reputation. Fear of finally being seen by the people who had pretended to be blind. She came close, whispering, "Why did you do this?" "I'm your mother." It flew like a gilt arrow, but didn't land. I answered low, "Because you were never my home." That echo made her step back. The MC, rattled, tried to restart the program, but order had broken. Bridesmaids whispered, the pastor stared at the ceiling. The groom squeezed my sister's hand to hide the chaos. Calmly, I walked to the sound table. The tech stared, unsure. I handed him the drive. "Save it. Keep a copy." He nodded. Aunt Rosanna slithered up, voice low, feigned concern. "Sweetheart, you went too far. We handle these things within the family." I met her with the tone used to return a poisoned favor. "That's it then. Within the family means hide it." She swallowed and backed away. People began leaving tables, whispering, filming. It wasn't a wedding anymore. It was a collective revelation. The truth is, no one looks at injustice until it turns into spectacle. My sister, still in white, walked to me with tears in her eyes. "I didn't know she." "You did," I cut in without rancor. "But I get it. You grew up believing skin tone is a resume. And that love needs approval." She cried. I didn't. "I've cried enough in bathrooms and hallways, out of the family photos." The hotel manager returned, firmer. "Ma'am," he said to me, "to confirm, do you want to cancel the bridal suite credit in your name?" My mother flinched. Heads turned. "In my name." I repeated, "Is payment logged under you? Booking created through a card on your condo account?" The puzzle slid into place. System access, flagged IP transfer checks. She'd used my login, my address, my data. Everything. My mother tried to speak. Her voice broke. "It was only a formality to make sure. To make sure I no longer existed as my own owner." Cut in. The manager waited. I breathed at. "Cancel it all," I said. "And send the receipt to my personal email. I don't want anything with my name propping up a lie." He nodded and left. For a second, the hall went fully mute. The DJ held his headphones, waiting. The cake waited in the corner, perfectly intact, like the party still had a chance. Didn't. I climbed the 3 steps and took the mic still clutched between my mother's fingers. I spoke slowly, looking into faces that have judged me in silence for years. There is no technical error when truth has a date and time. This is a recording of a day someone tried to turn love into a contract. I'm done being the invisible clause. The sound rang out, heavy and clean. My story no longer fits my mother's versions. And what you saw today isn't revenge. It's transparency. The DJ lost, put on something light, then no one danced. I placed the mic back, stepped down and walked to my bag. Light from the chandeliers splintered in the spilled glasses at my feet. I touched the hot big screen remote and switched it off. The truth was lit. It didn't need more light. My phone buzzed. A hidden sender. "You have more support than you think." The video just passed 30,000 views. Cold metal in my palm. Notifications popping like tiny fireworks. Each vibration an echo of truth spreading. I unlocked. Dozens of messages, shares, comments. In under an hour, the story that used to be a whisper within four walls had become a headline. Woman exposes attempt to strip her property during sister's wedding. Video shows slap and dowry, disguised as gift. Elegance that fell apart live. The headlines were sharp, but for once they didn't cut me. They cut where they should. In the hall, quiet chaos unspooled frame by frame. My mother tried to reassemble the image she built over decades, speaking low to the planner, looking like someone who no longer commands her own plot. My father sat with arms crossed, as if his omission had been exposed too. The pastor approached, carefully. "Child, can we speak off to the side? All this can be solved with forgiveness." I took a breath. "Forgiveness comes after truth, Pastor." And today, finally, truth spoke on its own. He lowered his eyes. The bride stood near the altar, flowers trembling in her hands. The veil looked heavier than the dress. I walked to her. "This wasn't for you," I said softly. "It was for me. For all the times they said I should be grateful just to have a seat when I was the one who cooked the whole feast." She nodded, eyes brimming. "Mom just wanted control," I said. "Not love." Control. Her tears fell like a mute confession. I wiped her mascara gently. "I don't want your forgiveness. I want you to understand the cost of keeping quiet so others can shine." Around us, people filtered out. Some ashamed, others too curious to look away. Chair legs scraping became the collapse's soundtrack. And still, in the discomfort, there was something almost beautiful. The truth making noise in a room built to disguise. Back at my table I sat spent. A glass of water waited. Its surface trembled with the phone's vibration. My reflection shattered inside it. I opened messages from women I'd never met. Voice notes, screenshots, stories. My mother did the same. They stole grandma's inheritance because she was the darkest. "Thank you for not staying quiet." Each voice was a new mirror. I wasn't alone. That's when I grasped the real power of what happened. It wasn't about exposing my mother. It was about breaking a silence pattern that caged us for generations. Shame had moved its address. Aunt Rosanna rushed past me on her phone, trying to stem the PR bleed. She was manipulated, didn't know what she was doing, she said. The irony rang. Never have I known so precisely what I was doing. My mother finally approached. Face still elegant, eyes hollow. "You destroyed me," she whispered. I answered with a calm that only arrives when fear dies. "No, Mom. I showed you. Showed me what? That respect isn't inherited. It's built." She turned away, and for the first time I felt no guilt. Only relief. The hotel manager brought a form, the official cancellation of the booking in my name. I signed, pocketed a copy with the flash drive. The pen on paper sounded like a chapter closing. The orchestra, mid-breakdown, played a slow tune out of habit. The hall, empty of applause, still smelled like expensive flowers and scorched lies. On the balcony, night air touched my face. The city's lights blinked, indifferent. I played the hallway clip once more. The slap, the demand, the silence afterward. This time I watched without rage. Just to remember where my courage began. I looked into the front camera and recorded, eyes straight into the lens. Sometimes revenge is just telling the truth out loud, and letting it echo where they told you to hush. I posted it. No filters, no music, only truth. The notifications didn't stop, and inside me, a new kind of peace began. Before I could pocket the phone, another ping from the guard. "There's more." The screen feed was recorded by the hotel system, with ambient audio. Everything. Even what your mother said after she thought the mic was off. "Want to hear it?" I breathed, heart beating with expectation now, not fear. He sent it, a heavy 42-minute file. I put in my earbuds and hit play. Glass clinks, a guest murmur, then my mother's voice after the screen went dark, believing the mic was dead. "I raised this girl and she still shames me. Always trying to look like more. Always needing to prove something. That's what happens when you let a black girl think she made it on her own." The sentence cut like glass. Not just concealed prejudice, full confession. For years she hid rejection behind demands and good intentions. Here, without audience or mask, she showed what always sat behind the smile. I let the clip run to the end, seconds dragging after the last word. Closed my eyes. Everything in me wanted to cry, but I'd moved past tears. What came now was justice. Clean, organized, unhurried. I opened my laptop and created a new file. Memoirs of a daughter without a frame. I added the screen recording, event links, screenshots, deed, audio. I put it in a public drive with a password and wrote the opening line. Not all racism shouts. Sometimes it wears pearls and drinks champagne. Today I return what they gave me, but in the form of truth. I sent the link to journalists already in my DMs, to pages centering Black women and emotional inheritance, to support groups I had followed silently for years. Not in anger but with precision. Replies came within minutes. A reporter wrote, "The wedding video is viral. But this new file, that's the story the public needs. Will you do an interview?" I smiled alone. The irony was perfect. My mother always dreamed of the society pages. Now she'd make the truth pages. I texted my sister. "I don't want to destroy anything. I just want you to stop pretending." She replied, "I want to speak to. Can we meet tomorrow?" "You can," I wrote. "But come without the veil." Back in the hall, nearly empty now. Staff gathered wilted flowers. Stacks of plates clinked their curtain call. I walked to the stage where it began. The screen stood dark, but it held the reflection of who I'd become. I climbed the steps and looked out. Hours ago, they showcased me as the rebellious daughter. Now it was the altar of my release. I lifted the dead mic and spoke softly to myself. This isn't revenge. It's visibility. A sound tech, coiling cables, heard and answered. "Ma'am, with respect, sometimes it's the same thing." Smiled. He wasn't wrong. Outside, the sky began to lighten. Night, my accomplice, dissolved into blue. I sat on the stair's edge, toes on carpet still warm from the lights. I thought of the small humiliations disguised as advice, the dinners where they asked me to tone down the hair, the time someone said I was lucky to be pretty despite the color. Each memory arrived like a wave, and for the first time I didn't step back. I was the portrait they tried to crop, and now the frame itself was cracked. I filmed again, this time with the empty hall behind me. When the truth hurts, that's because it's alive. And once it shows up, no one sleeps the same. If your own family ever treated you like a guest in your story, know this. The banquet can change tables. And a voice, once it leaves silence, doesn't go back in. I posted it with a short caption. Today, the marriage was between lies and shame. And the divorce was between my soul and silence. Views spiked. Notifications turned into music. If any part of this story brought back something they tried to silence in you, share it. Every time we speak, a door opens. And sometimes that sliver is how the light gets in. I powered down, but the screen's glow felt like it stayed in me. Dawn streamed through stained glass onto my face. For the first time I didn't feel outside the photo. I was the whole image. Another buzz. The reporter again. "Your mother's on air now. She says you're emotionally unstable. And this was a misunderstanding. Do you want to respond live?" I stared at the screen a second. Emotionally unstable. The phrase blinked like an old sign, replaying a tired tactic. Reduce me to a state, not a story. I breathed. I knew she'd do this, she always has. When she can't control, she discredits. When she can't erase, she describes. I stood from the stairs, straightened my dress, and went to the foyer mirror. The woman there wasn't unstable. She was firm, tired, lucid. Her face bore the invisible cut of someone who walked through fire intact. Sun slipped in, making glitter dust float like each particle whispered, "Survivor." I texted the reporter. "Yes, I'll respond. Not to defend myself, to speak to those living this who don't know how to get out." She typed back fast. "Live at 6 p.m. theme. Color, inheritance and silence. Are you in?" "I'm in," I wrote. The rest of the day sped by. I left the hotel in the wine dress, hair loose. People recognized me, whispered, some came up. You were brave. My mother would do the same as yours. Thank you for showing it. Each sentence was a crack in the complicity wall. At home, the penthouse exhaled relief. Sun spread across the windows. Coffee scent warmed the air. I opened my laptop, plugged in the drive, and reviewed every file once more. The slap, the audio, the chats, her confession. It was like assembling a lifetime's puzzle of disguises. This time I didn't shake. At 5:30, I sat under the interview lights. Soft key, neutral backdrop. The producer told me my mother had already spoken. She'd called it an internet-amplified misunderstanding, and said I'd always been dramatic. Smiled calm. Dramatic. Another tired word. They call it drama when a black woman says what she feels without apologizing. The show began. The host looked at me. We're live. First, thank you for joining. The whole country is watching. What would you say to your mother? And to mothers who think they control through love? I looked straight into the camera. My voice was clean and unhurried. I'm not here to attack anyone. But what my mother did isn't an isolated case. It reflects something bigger. A structure teaching women like me to be grateful for crumbs and smile at parties that were never meant for us. She nodded. I continued. They call it instability when we stop bowing our heads. They call it ingratitude when we choose respect. What happened in that hall isn't just about a mother and daughter. It's about a country that confuses obedience with love, silence with elegance. The studio hushed that I went on. My color was never a flaw, but it's always been an excuse. And what I did yesterday wasn't exposure. It was return. I returned what they tried to make me carry. Off camera, I saw the host's face change. The camera op gave a small thumbs up. The reporter pinged in my earpiece. Perfect. The interview ended with the crew spontaneously applauding. I breathed, took off the mic, and stepped into the world like the ground finally belonged to me. Outside, the sky was lilac, first stars winking on. A group of young black women waited on the sidewalk. One hugged me hard. We saw everything. You opened the door. I cried then, quietly. Not sadness, release. Back in the car, another alert. A new YouTube channel. The Dowry of the Lie, Part 1. The original video. Re-edit with captions and context. Views over 1 million. The comments filled with women sharing their stories. At a light, I looked into the rear view. I wasn't a headline. I was a template. At home, a letter waited with no return address. Inside, a note in handwriting I knew since childhood. You won, but you lost a mother. I stared at it a long time before answering, just for me. No, Mom. I gained myself. That night, the family lawyer called. Your mother wants a deal. She wants this closed before the bank sees the fraudulent access. She's willing to transfer the penthouse to you officially. Tomorrow at 9. I breathed slow, the kind of calm you learn when you own your time. Tell her she doesn't need to. The penthouse is already mine. What I want now is the world to know why. I woke before dawn, the city sleepy, cool air coming through the windows. The quiet was so clean I could hear the first horns far away, the metallic click of the elevator somewhere above. I made coffee. Strong, no sugar. The taste I learned when I stopped sweetening what hurt on the table last night's note. You won, but you lost a mother. Its edges already curling like it wanted to hide. I sat and looked out at the sky. Maybe she still doesn't realize what was lost wasn't a mother, but the mask of one. The lawyer rang at 8:30. Ms. Marissa, your mother wants to formalize the deed in your name to end this. The irony made me smile. She wants to return what was never hers. Call it justice, not a settlement. Shall I book the slot anyway? You can. She doesn't need to be there. I watched the steam rise and remembered her line for years. When I'm gone, all this will be yours. I used to think all this meant house, furniture, heirlooms. Today I know all this was the weight of inherited silence. I decided not to inherit anything else. My inbox pinged. Subject. National interview 8 p.m. We'd like you to speak about rebuilding without asking permission. Theme. Daughters who break the mold. I closed it and smiled. Life was finally handing me mics I controlled. Before leaving, I organized the table. Folders, receipts, screenshots, the original deed. Seeing the process laid out had become a ritual. Each paper a signed scar. I took the envelope and headed out. On the drive to the lawyer's office, the streets looked the same, but I crossed them whole. Billboards sold perfect families that all looked alike. I thought of mine, a beautiful mold hiding cracks. Maybe the problem was never me being different. Maybe the mold was too small to hold me. He greeted me with 2 coffees and a neutral face. She won't come. She'll sign digitally. But she asked me to give you this .an envelope. Inside, an old photo. My sister and me as kids, both in front of the old house. My mother behind us, hands on our shoulders. On the back, a line in her hand. You always looked straight at the camera. I was always afraid of what that revealed. I held it for a few seconds, unsure if it hurt or healed. I signed the deed, the pen's scratch firm. When I finished, he said, "Congratulations." "It's official, no counselor," I said. "It's clean." Outside, the sun hit the buildings like a premiere. At the light, a text from us, "Your video is a debate topic tonight. They're calling it, the Penthouse case. You good?" I replied. "Yeah. But I'll admit, it was beautiful to see a slap turn to proof, and proof turn to courage." I laughed softly. He didn't know, but that line was all I needed. Back at the penthouse, I threw open the curtains and let sun spill everywhere. The city below pulsed. I took a pen and wrote on the white wall above my desk, "Nothing they asked you to hide deserved to be your weight." The phone rang, live show production. "Marissa, can you come early? We'd like a pre-interview. I'll be there." I looked around before leaving. The room smelled new. No echo of my mother. No shadow of guilt. Only the view, the same one she once tried to take. Coat on, keys in hand, and at the door I said to myself, not as promise but as fact, this home will never be silence again. In the elevator, a message from the show. "Your mother agreed to be on the same broadcast live. She wants to talk." I smiled at my reflection in the steel. Then live is where the cycle ends. The TV studio felt like a quiet battlefield camouflaged as elegance. Lights, cables, polished floors, control in the air. I arrived 15 minutes early. Makeup mic the main chair. Across from me, 2 identical seats. One for me, one for her. She was already there. Beige dress, pearls, hair perfect. The same sophistication that for years curtained the venom. Eyes met. She didn't smile. She sized me up like fabric before a cut. "Thank you both for coming," the host said, steady. "The country is watching a story that's touched thousands. Mother and daughter, face to face. Let's start with the question everyone has. What really happened at that wedding?" My mother adjusted her mic, breathed, and went first. "It was a misunderstanding. An emotional situation. I never wanted to hurt her. I always fought for my girls to have the best, even if it meant being tough sometimes. Being tough slid like a polished blade. The same old script, love that humiliates, dressed as care. When it was my turn, the camera moved in it. "I'm not here to fight over aversion. I'm here to end a cycle," I said, voice low and steady. My whole life they told me love comes with shame. That to be accepted I had to fit. When I chose not to fit, I became the family's mistake. She looked away, hands tight in her lap. I kept going. The slap wasn't the worst. The worst was realizing she believed she had that right. And that right was born from a hierarchy that kept me beneath. Tone, gesture, place. What happened that day isn't an exception. It's the portrait of families that dress racism in lace and perfume. The studio went still. The host turned to her, tense. "Ms. Helena, your response?" My mother looked straight at me, voice too controlled. "You've always been naive. The world is cruel. I prepared you for it. And now you expose me like a monster. Is this how you repay me?" I breathed from my soul. "You didn't prepare me for the world, Mom. You prepared me for fear. And fear is the most expensive prison a black woman can carry." A murmur moved through the crew. The host glanced at production. No one stirred. I finished. Life taught me dignity isn't rebellion. Love that charges silence isn't love, it's possession. You wanted my voice to be proud of it, not to hear it. But today it isn't yours to control anymore. Her face hardened. Hands shaking, pose intact. The host's voice wavered. It's impossible not to feel this moment's force. Marissa, if you could go back, would you do it differently? I looked into the lens, no. Because before I freed myself from my mother, I had to free myself from guilt. And real love survives truth. If hers doesn't, it never was love. Hashtags lit up. Hashtag inherited silence trending at the top. My mother held on until the end, then stood and left without a glance. The host touched my shoulder. You know this will travel the world, right? I nodded. Let it. That's the point. Let the world see a black woman rebuilding in public, without apologizing for existing. The producer pulled me aside, phone in hand. Your sister's at the door. She wants to see you. Is she alone? Yes. And she looks sorry. I pressed my grandmother's necklace at my throat. Let her in. Time to close the whole story, not just a chapter. She stepped in slowly, like afraid of her own echo. The studio dimmed, lights going down one by one. That post-recording quiet felt like a field cleared after a storm. She wore the same blue dress from the wedding, now wrinkled, its shine faded. In her eyes I saw the same tired I had once seen in mine. Can I talk to you? She asked, stopping a few feet away. I nodded. Here is fine. She inhaled, breath cutting old thickness. I stayed silent because I was scared of losing everything. Scared of Mom, the money, what people would think. But when I saw the video, when I heard what she said about you, I understood we'd lost it long ago. You just had the courage to admit it. I looked at her without anger. Only tired and a strange peace. I didn't do anything to hurt you, I said, firm and gentle. I just stopped hurting myself to protect others. She stepped closer, eyes wet. That I know. And if you'll let me, I want to help now. Mom, she's in the hospital. Blood pressure. She says she wants to see you. For a second the room lost air. The same woman who expelled me, who hit me in public, now fragile. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Let life's weight do its work. Another part, the one that believes in the quiet strength of forgiving without forgetting, said maybe that was the real closure. I'll go, I said. But not as an obedient daughter. I'll go to end the cycle for real. Hours later, the hospital room smelled like disinfectant and regret. She lay pale, monitors beeping slow. When I opened the door, her eyes opened, fragile, still proud. You came, she whispered. I did that. I lost control. No. You tried to keep it to the end. That's what you lost. She breathed, tears sliding quietly. I just wanted you to be like the others. I am. I'm a woman. I'm black. I'm your daughter. I'm just not the broken mirror you wanted to see yourself in. She turned her face. For the first time in years I saw surrender. Not defeat, surrender to truth. I stayed silent, holding her hand. The monitor beeped again, and the air lightened like something old had finally been expelled. Before leaving, I set the photo she'd sent through the lawyer on the table. On the back I wrote, "You didn't prepare me for the world. But without meaning to, you taught me to face it." I closed the door softly. My sister waited in the corridor. She hugged me hard without words. And in that embrace I understood. Revenge isn't watching someone fall. It's seeing yourself stand. Outside, the night was clear. Warm wind moving down the avenue. The city lights blinked like many watchful eyes. My phone lit up. Your interview reached 10 million views. In the window's reflection, the face looking back was whole. No frame, no shadow, no guilt. I recorded one last message, voice even, eyes on the horizon. Sometimes justice isn't a scandal. It's the soft sound of someone getting her own name back. May every woman who heard me find that sound inside herself, too. If this story reached you, subscribe, speak up, share. Every time one of us rises, the whole world shifts a little closer to where it should be. The car eased forward, the radio playing an old song my grandmother used to sing. Outside, the city kept living, and so did I. Her voice echoed inside me, both an ending and a beginning. Go now, girl. You are your own home.